Alright, so this was originally going to be a part of the Mushu video, but I decided it broke the pace a little too much, so I decided to just rip that part out of the video and make it its own thing. So here's the Mount Olympus experience. So before I actually go to Mount Olympus, I stop at the bazaar and upgrade my gear, because Mount Olympus with only 2 people is kinda rough, and these are the decks I'll be using throughout the entire dungeon. Something that makes Mount Olympus kinda rough is these Cyclops minions. I mean, not only are they myths, so they resist my strongest hits, but they also just love to spam stun. And Apollo can get pretty annoying because he can also lower your accuracy. And these guys also do a good chunk of damage as well. It's only been a couple rounds and Zoe's already at half health. Since Zoe has access to more buffs and her spells just overall do more damage, I'm trying to set her up to do a big hit on Apollo, take him down as low as I can, and then just have Jack kind of clean up. And I wanted to set up more, but with Zoe knocking on death's door, it just really wasn't worth the risk of her dying and losing all those buffs and essentially restarting the entire fight. And I do some decent damage, so Jack will be able to finish the Cyclops off with a blizzard, but very annoyingly, Apollo immediately revives the Cyclops. And I'm really trying to speed things up because I really don't want Apollo healing himself for an extra 800 health. But thankfully with this final Humunga Frog, that's enough to end the fight. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the mob fights because they're just not very interesting. Third fight is also pretty easy, but with 3 of those Cyclops minions, they just love spamming stun. I then do the little rock, paper, scissors puzzle, take down a couple more Cyclops, run around and look for all the bronze eagles, and now I'm off to fight Ares, who is actually a pretty tough fight due to his cheat giving him an extra 15% damage, and also just invalidating Jack's existence with an ice shield. So with Jack, all I can really do now is just save up the pips to use Frostbite on Ares. Assuming I live long enough, because my god, that damage. Meanwhile, Zoe is trying to pull a Humunga Frog so she can at least take out that minion. And it is very frustratingly not happening. But luckily Jack can get his Frostbite off right in the nick of time too, because Ares immediately murders him after the fact. I finally pull a Humunga Frog, start looking for an enchant, and fizzle. Thankfully, Heckhound isn't really that big of a threat with very low pips, neither is Death Troll. So I can use Humunga Frog again, it connects, and that's game. I take my Sky Iron Hosta as a reward, which gives me 10% extra damage, and an extra power pip to start with. Making it probably the best one in the game until level 100, but anyway, on to Zeus. I actually intentionally left the wand hits in case that Minotaur decides to Tower Shield. And apart from the threat of the minion either using Tower Shield or Legion Shield, Zeus is probably the easiest boss in Mount Olympus. And at this point, it's really just setting up and hoping the Minotaur doesn't use Tower Shield or Legion Shield. And I decide now is probably the best time to try and take out that Minotaur. And I put an extra feint on Zeus to get a little extra damage. And the damage I end up doing is a lot more than expected, so that's nice. So I just have Jack finish it off with an Ice Wyvern, and that's Mount Olympus. Now time to do it about 30 more times. But is this gear actually worth the grind? On screen right now are all these skulls with the Zeus hat, robe, and boots equipped with the Sky Iron Hosta, and Yeah, comparing them to the level 30 stats with just bizarre gear, but also the Sky Iron Hosta, because Sky Iron Hosta is a guaranteed drop. Yeah, it's a significant improvement. Same with level 35 gear and 40 gear. However, when you get to level 45 gear, I feel like the Zeus gear is barely better. Now, I didn't bother to look at every single piece of generic gear that you get before Waterworks, because when you reach level 50, you're swapping gear every 2 levels. But needless to say, yeah, Zeus gear is not that essential for finishing the game. It's good gear and make the game easier, but a lot of people seem to forget that the game was perfectly doable before that stuff was introduced into the game. But hey, that's just the Mount Olympus experience.